Evening. It's Brindley and it's Sunday night. And Sunday nights are just for a quick kind of 10-minute reset or setup for the week. I'm Brindley. For those of you that are new, I come every Sunday night around 8:30, and just kind of share about 10 minutes of a topic for us to think about. The last 3 weeks, we have shared and talked about overfunctioning, rescuing, and performing. And those are all habits that typically we have inherited, we haven't chosen. Now, I want to preface this by saying the work that I'm talking about is systemic, and it's all about how systems function. So, a system is a sum of a parts. So, a family is a system, a team is a system, a business is a system. And systems are founded on three things: order, belonging, and exchange of value. And if those three things are not in order, then the system does not function at its highest potential. And so, what we talk about is how these inherited patterns actually translate then over into our businesses. And this week, what I want to talk about is inherited patterns. Now, again, we're not here to play victim or superior victim. This is not about blame. Actually, the healing and the point of this conversation is to get to a point where you don't blame, because so many of us blame what's happened to us on the inside or the outside on our parents. And yes, we do inherit from our parents, and sometimes they are not right. And we often say in constellation and systemic work that no matter what our parents have done to us, which some of us have had some pretty terrifying things happen, no matter what, we can be grateful that they gave us life, because without them we wouldn't be here. And so tonight I want to talk about the patterns we inherit, but not from a place of victim, from a place of how they show up in the family system and then how they translate over into the team or the business. So most of the exhaustion that you feel is not because of something you've done. It's because you're fulfilling a role that was never yours to begin with. So in family systems, what will start to happen is they will start to distribute weight unevenly. So if you notice in a lot of family systems, organizations, teams, there are always capable individuals that carry more than others. And oftentimes we believe that that is a virtue. We believe that by carrying more or doing for others, that we're actually helping the team, when actually what that is a vulnerability. That's something in the past that has validated your worth by doing for others and sacrificing self in order to do for others. And so some people are the carriers, and it's usually not by accident. It happens in a very easy way. The capable one, the responsible one, the one who holds it all together. That's the person that is going to then carry that over into the business and do the same thing. Be the responsible one, hold it all together, and then resentment grows, and then one day it just comes out. So, what I want to ask ourselves tonight is, what are you holding right now that you took on so long ago that you don't even remember deciding to carry it? So, what is something that you do that you've done it for so long that you don't even remember when you started carrying it? And I'll give you an example for myself. I always lived in a state of restlessness and a state of urgency. And that I am so grateful for, because without it, I wouldn't have had this woman right here, mom, raise me as a single mom and accomplish everything that I've accomplished, because she was a hard worker. She started as a secretary in 1985, making $12 an hour, and she raised me by herself. And by the time I went to college, she was the senior vice president of institutional sales for a little company called Raymond James. And yet we were constantly on the go. It was constantly go, 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 go. And so for so many years, I operated at one speed. That was the only speed I knew. And I thought I had chosen it, until I started to realize that it was inherited. And it wasn't bad on my mother's part. We had to operate in urgency and restlessness in order to survive. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It becomes unhealthy when it prevents us from getting what we want. And that's when I had to realize, wait a minute, I didn't necessarily choose this. I inherited it, but I can choose to unlearn it. Because every single thing we do is a learned behavior. Everything. We didn't come into the world knowing how to brush our teeth. We didn't know coming into the world how to work a live video. We didn't know how to run. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to talk. All of that had to be learned. And so if we can learn all of that, we can learn a new way of thinking and behaving. Willpower will not put this down. Willpower will not work. Most of us try to manage this weight by setting more boundaries, delegating more, resting more, and usually that helps temporarily, but it doesn't usually last. But you don't actually set down the inherited weight through willpower. So you have to go back and actually discover where it came from. So we know, and there's kind of a sliding scale here. Some people believe it's 3, some believe it's 7 generations of pattern that we can inherit. So we can inherit 3 to 7 generations, and then we can pass forward 3 to 7 generations. So you set it down when you can see clearly that it was never yours in the first place. And that requires a different kind of conversation. And that's what we do, in constellation work, is that we see how the family system is set up, where it's misaligned, where that pattern actually came in, so that we can heal it. We can recognize it. We can be grateful for it. We can thank the ancestors or the family members that we received it from. And then we're able to release it because we're no longer carrying something that isn't ours. We carry the emotional trauma. We carry the pain. We carry the guilt. We carry the negative from our parents, from our grandparents, from our great-grandparents. And I know a lot of you are going to laugh at me when I say this because you think I'm crazy, but we already know that. It's actually proven that you are an egg in your mother's womb, in your grandmother's womb. So you're technically in an egg inside of your grandmother because your mother produces her eggs while in the womb. So, and a woman is only born with a certain amount of eggs, and those are formed while in their mother's womb. So then technically you are in your grandmother's womb being programmed by both your grandmother and your mother physically. And then we don't even touch on the emotional and the spiritual side of what's inherited through that. So the question becomes, what might you be carrying that isn't yours? Where's that restlessness or that urgency that I was talking about? What's the example in your life? Maybe it's people pleasing. Maybe it's over responsibility. Maybe it's rescuing. Any of those things, over functioning. And we're going to continue to talk about more and more that we inherit. And guys, this doesn't make anyone bad. My mother inherited things from her mother. Her mother inherited it from my great-grandmother, and so on and so forth. Someone brought it into the system, but everything is affected by our experiences and what we go through in life. And we're all connected. We're all connected, and we're all connected to our systems. So asking yourself what you actually carry that isn't yours, not what you choose, not what landed on you, but what you inherited, what the system handed you before you were old enough to question it. Those are the things you want to think about. What are those patterns and habits that you've had for as long as you can remember? But you don't ever actually remember being the one to form them. It just was always that way. That's actually where we want to start. So the relief, guys, isn't doing less. It's not doing less. It's getting honest about what was never yours to hold. You know, that day that woman put her hand on my thigh, Michelle Bleckner, and said that I had picked up my uncle's trauma. And I know trauma is such a buzzword, and that's not what I mean, but I had picked up his patterns. I had picked up his alcoholic behavior. I had picked up his addiction. There were a lot of things that I had chosen to be like him and that I carried. And when I started unpacking all of this, I started realizing that addiction wasn't something I chose. It was something I watched my entire life as a coping mechanism. And so when life got really, really hard and I was young and didn't know what to do, I didn't know any different. That was the pattern I took. And so you start to realize the things that you don't like about yourself, and you start to ask yourself, okay, where did this come from? How did it get here? And then how do I remove it? And there are ways that we do that. We do that through constellation and systemic coaching, which I do with a lot of my clients. So, what I'd like to finish with tonight is if you take anything from this, it's to get honest with yourself. Where are the places in life that I'm not getting what I want? What are the things that are holding me back? What are the things that are preventing me from getting where I want to be in life? And then sitting with those things and asking yourself, did I choose this? Well, if not, how can I unlearn it? And maybe where do I need to go to find out what caused it? Because sometimes when we realize where it came from, like with my mother and the urgency and the restlessness, I become grateful for it. And that helps me release it because I know it was created in a way to love and to care for me, even though it became something that wore me down later in life when it became unhealthy. But again, it's my choice to unlearn it and to practice the behavior so that my nervous system learns a new way. So that's what we're going to be talking about here on Sunday nights with me, Brindley. Nice to meet you guys, and have a great week. If you want more information on me or what I do, or if this landed, just send me a private message or just comment below and I'll get in touch with you. You can also visit brindleytucker.com. Middle of the page on the homepage, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter that goes out every Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.